Yo, what's up? It is Trial and Error with Brian and Fearless. We look a little bit different today. StreamYard has been rolling out new features, and in order for one of the features to work, we gotta change the way that we look a little bit on the screen. So we're a little bit, you're more in our face, we're in your face. So hopefully it's not too jarring for you. I'm Brian.
Fearless here.
Yep. Fearless is a philosopher. I am a marketing guy who wants to teach you how to market yourself. And we are doing the Trial and Error podcast. On the Trial and Error podcast, we talk about learning through messing things up.
Yeah, I
And
like that. Learning through messing things up. Yeah.
I can't say the other phrase until we're about 7 or 8 minutes into this thing. Otherwise, we're going to get flagged. But learning through messing up. So, the conversation that we're having, and it was one that we're having off air. And I think this is probably a conversation topic. If we can mark this, I want to do a little bit more research on it because the conversation we were having off air was really intriguing. I want to do one about um, if there is a different type of Christianity in America, like if America has its own sect of Christianity based on the way that we perceive it and the way that we evaluate it, compare it against scriptures and stuff like that. Um,
And not just that, but also I think in the way that it's heard and accepted as well, because just because you have your own rendition of this particular thing, how many people are gravitating towards your rendition as opposed to going with the tried and true method,
right.
if there even is one.
Well, and the reason why I want to take a week with it is because there's so many third rails in that potential conversation that people's emotions will get tied up into it, and we'll lose the factual basis of what we're trying to say in that conversation. So I want to give a little bit of time to shape that one
Yeah, give us
before.
some nuance. Yeah.
Yep, add some nuance. Today, we're talking about the concept of grievance as praxis, grievance as your operating system,
Okay.
and the birthright illusion and the rage that it creates. Um, and we're taking this point as um, two 90s era nerdy black men who both have gotten their own through this system in terms of creating our own businesses and carving out our own lives. And that's kind of the angle that I'm taking on it because that's the only frame of reference I really have is who I am. And Fearless has that same reference. He has a perspective on it, but the reference that we're going to be speaking to is through the lens of how we see things. And when I talk about the grievance as an identity, I'm talking about people who feel like they have some level of entitlement to a certain standard of living or way of life just by practicing capitalism. They think that they're entitled to this specific way of life. And when we talk about entitled, this is not going to go the entitled that y'all thinking, because I already know there's going to be people that are going to talk about a different level of entitlement. I'm talking about the original entitlement in this country, the original way people feel they're entitled to a specific standard of living. But before we get into all that, we got to front load this. Fearless, what have you got going on in terms of people wanting to talk to you or call you and stuff like that? How can they get in touch with you?
So what do we have? Don't we have our?
Yep, I'm putting it on the screen now.
Yeah, if you
So,
want to put that up or whatever, then yeah, you guys are more than welcome to hit me up. I would love to learn how to just put it on my screen.
right,
You know what I mean? I would love to I could do it all day long if I'm by myself.
right.
But for some reason, they won't let me do it if
And
I'm with you. So that's weird.
I'm still trying to find where it is. Like, am I tripping? Am I not seeing it? QR codes. Oh, it's hidden. All right, so call Fearless. There is a QR code to call Fearless.
Boom. Hello. Hit me up.
If you need perspective, if you need to sit down and talk about some things from give me a range of topics that you're willing to sit down
I
and
mean, I think right now, with everything going on, just a little bit of perspective and calmness, simplicity,
okay.
just kind of taking a load off of stuff. That's what I do or whatever. So I'll listen to kind of what we're talking about. And again, I'm not a therapist or whatever. So if you need therapy, I know a bunch of them.
Hmm.
I will give them your information or vice versa. But um, I think that a good conversation, I think that a good perspective can put people back into exactly where they're trying to get to. Because you got to remember, man, we're not here to stay. We're here
Right.
to pass. And I think the majority of our problems are the same exact way. They're not here to stay. They've come to pass or whatever. So I think that if we're able to see things from a different perspective, I guarantee you, your life, regardless of what you got going on right now, will probably be a lot easier and better. I myself have to look to other people or in books to help me look at things from different perspectives because unfortunately I see it my own way as well. Because
Well,
you come to me, I go to somebody else.
right. And I think fearless is from experience. Fearless strength is really reframing the way that you see things,
That's it.
and giving you the gift of perspective.
Hmm.
Um, because that's truly a gift. A lot of times, sometimes we get too caught up in our own way of thinking, and it kind of ends up becoming an echo chamber. And so, fearless can give you a perspective to kind of help you navigate that stuff.
Yep,
So,
yeah, and that's all it is.
that's fearless is up in the corner. I'm switching to mine. What I want to do is I want to teach you guys how to start recording yourself. We got a fantastic opportunity here nowadays with social media. Um, while this stuff is free, um, you can absolutely get out there and establish something that is your own unique voice out there. And you don't need people to always agree with your unique voice, but
No.
just having a place to record yourself and put yourself out there, especially if you're a business owner, is really important. People are having really difficult times with faceless brands now. And by putting your face to your brand or product or whatever you're trying to draw attention to, um, it's really important. And so that's the piece that we need. That's the piece that I can help you do. I can help you start recording yourself, and I can give you the why, and I can help you build a machine that will generate leads and cash and stuff for you as you move forward. But then also giving you some of the basics so that you know how to start the process of recording yourself, because that's important too. I did just drop. Um, I compiled all my favorite AI prompts, because if you don't know, when I do my prompting for AI and all that other stuff, my prompts aren't single sentences; they're entire essays. um, and the reason why I drop essays into my whatever AI tool I'm using is it improves the output. You get better quality stuff if you provide detail and nuance. And so I've put a lot of my favorite prompts that I've used to grow my marketing business, and analyze other businesses. I have that available on my Stand store. So if you're interested in copping those, that link is available. It will absolutely suit. It will turn you into a power user of these AI platforms. It's better, it's more than just answering questions, is what I'm saying. And a lot of times with AI tools, it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you want to learn how to record yourself, or if you want to learn how to supercharge your AI to grow your business, go ahead and scan the thing up in the corner, and it'll take you to my Stand store. I got all that shit in there. So, all right.
I love it. I love it.
So today, what we're talking about is grievance as praxis. And for those that don't know, praxis is basically the way we do things. And when we're talking about grievance as praxis, for me, we're starting to see more people build entire platforms based on just grievance. And grievance is feeling like somebody owes you something, feeling like you are being slighted in some way, shape, or form. And we're seeing more and more people jump into the grievance pool, if that makes sense, to monetize other people's discontent.
And there's a German word for that. It's Schadenfreude.
Yep.
And Schadenfreude is when you take pleasure in somebody else's misfortune.
Right.
And we look at it as grievance, but it's more or less that I'll put it like this: when you're doing well, you can care less of everybody else's. You let me rephrase that. You want other people to do well as well.
Yep.
So you don't. It feels good when you're doing great, but when you're a selfless person, you want everybody around you to do well as well. That also means that if you're stepping your plate up or you stepping your thing up, everybody else around you got to start stepping it up too.
Right.
You
Well,
know, so I mean, it's kind of like monkey see, monkey do, but we all got to participate in this thing, and but that would be the part of Mittenfreuden where you take pleasure in seeing people do well. I have a lot of that of Mittenfreuden where I want you to do well because I'm doing okay, right? And I think that it makes the neighborhood look better. I think it makes the community look better. I think it makes your environment better when you are feeling better and you want other people to do better as well. But that Schadenfreude,
mhm.
that's when you're not doing well and you don't want other people to do well either.
And I also think it comes from an uncharitable spirit because I mean, when you look at
Yeah,
it, a lot of times disproportionately, and we're not talking about like pure dollars, right? We're talking about proportion. Proportionally, people that are on the lower end of the economic spectrum are typically the ones more likely to donate and give.
yep,
And so there is an element of that too. And so I say this offhand a lot of times. Selfish people have a very difficult time understanding selfless people
hmm,
because they assume that the selfless person is working some kind of angle because
right.
that's what they would do. Our reactions are typically a mirror to our inner intentions. And more times than not, when we think that somebody being selfless towards us, if we take that as a threat, typically that's a reflection of what you would do in that position and how you would take advantage of people. Um,
You know it's really funny. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm reading this book right now. If you don't mind me
yep.
plugging it, it's not my book. It's a book. It's called "The Separation of Church and Hate." Yes, not church and state. Church and hate. Actually, could you pull that up while I
Yep.
kind of talk right quick, just so you guys can see it, and if you want to grab it, go ahead. Um, but the book is kind of talking about how certain individuals, right and left, have actually taken the Bible and actually basically held it hostage, and not held the actual book hostage, but a lot of what it meant and what it means. So they'll call themselves Christians, or they'll call themselves Muslims, or they'll call themselves whatever. In this case, it's Christianity, being that a lot of people in America are call themselves Christians, or see themselves as Christians. But the problem is that the things that we're seeing happening today are indicative of what Christ talked about. Like Jesus talked about doing something for doing something for the poor. He said that whatever you've done to other people, you've done to me, good and bad.
Hmm.
And then, but yet instead, these are the same people that swear up and down that this is what God wanted, this is what Jesus wants. But you can't find anywhere in the Bible, and trust me, I got 3 of them right above me that states that this is what God wants. Like, and it's so funny because we'll talk about I'm reading about abortions now or whatever, and they're like, there's nowhere in the Bible where it tells anybody, especially in Deuteronomy, Numbers, any of those things, where this practice is not, where it's frowned upon. If you would have actually listened to or read any of the stuff that Jesus talked about, you would think Jesus was a feminist, because he wasn't, like, even when he was hanging out with Mary and stuff, and Mary wasn't the only female that actually traveled with them, which is really funny because if I asked you how many people travel with Jesus, you would say 12. Actually, it was more like 15 because Jesus had a few females that was with him too. Oh, and did you know who actually paid to make sure that they had food and they could go get from place to place? It was women who funded most of his ministries. I'm not saying that they donated. I'm saying they funded it to make sure that him and his whole crew had everything that they needed. But yet instead, you don't hear about that often. You don't read about that often because certain individuals have separated Jesus' teachings from what the reality of what certain people call what was the word I'm looking for? What certain people deem appropriate for a conversation pertaining to church and state and what they're actually telling everybody else. So one of the things that I've looked at or thought about, I was telling my friend Jessica about this, like actually for a couple of years now. Anytime you drive up Mission and Bellevue, you'll see people standing outside holding those signs saying, okay, we can do that. I'm holding signs saying that, abortion is murder, this and the other, which technically Bible never says that one, like at all. But I'm always like, why don't they ever have any pictures or have a QR code like we have saying, hey, if you feel alone, let us come help. Why don't they ever say things say, I'll be grandpa. I'll be grandma. Hey, why don't you guys come over to the house? Come hang out with us. Or, you know what I'm saying? Make it something where it's where a person who, if they're thinking about getting an abortion, ask why. Is there anything that you can do to maybe prevent that? I mean, what are you afraid of? Did this happen because you were raped, sexually assaulted? I mean, whatever. Find out about a person's history and what they're going through before you just assume that you broad stroke everybody with that same thing. And I was talking to Jessica about this before, and she made a great point. She's like, dude, for women like that, I would understand. But then she's like, I know people that have used that clinic just because they were out here doing dumb shit and they consistently keep doing it. And then that makes it worse for everybody. Right? But again, though, when did a biblical thing become more of a political thing? And that's where you have the issue.
Well, a couple of things to the point, because one, that's not a strong, like, engagement and stuff like that. That's not as strong. That's not as a strong. That's from a rallying standpoint. That's not as strong as grievance. It's not as strong as those people over there are wrong. This is how we castigate them.
So instead of bringing into the fold, instead of asking a question that Jesus would ask, which is, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? Which is what he talked about. It's, you need to follow the rules that Jesus said, but Jesus never set that rule.
You need to follow the rules that I set in my brain for your behavior. And I'm
Right.
utilizing scripture or my interpretation of a scripture or somebody else's interpretation that they told me of a scripture to validate
that doesn't
your
even
punishment.
exist.
Right.
That doesn't even exist.
And a lot of fundamentalism is tied to those people over there have aggrieved us. And this is how they're going to get their just desserts. They're going to be punished for voting wrong. They're going to go to hell. They're going to be eternally punished for living a life that we don't approve of. It is tied to grievance. The thing I will say is, typically when we start, because this is something I learned from running group homes, group punishments are very, very ineffective. Because the
group punishments
are very, very ineffective.
Right.
Because the party that was doing the wrong feels like they got off the hook because everybody else is suffering just like they are. Meanwhile, the people that are getting punished really don't have any perspective of why they're getting punished, because they didn't do anything to warrant the punishment.
Right.
And so if we're talking about individuals, you have to individualize your consequence. Otherwise, you're taking that consequence and making it highly ineffective to motivate behavior that you want to see. And
Right.
so that's where the concept of, well, and that's where I would take a disagreement and say, yeah, because we have bad actors in this one thing, we can't utilize those bad actors as a means or a reason to punish everybody.
Right.
And that's what happens. That tends to what happens, because the people that are the bad actors, they never learn the lesson with they want everybody else to suffer. They want everybody else to be in the same boat. Misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
And I had workers that would do that, where one kid did something and then they would say, well, now the whole unit has to suffer. Well, the kid that did the thing, he ain't suffering. He's fine. We're all in trouble now. All of us are in trouble now for the thing I did. So since I'm not experiencing a different way or different environment than you are, because you're in trouble just like I am, I'm not being punished. And that's how it ends up coming across. And so
Right.
a lot of times, and as a lesson I actually had to learn when I started out working in group homes and stuff like that, was group punishments are largely ineffective. They never get you the behavior that you want to see. You have to actually, if you're going to enforce a consequence on somebody, you have to identify the bad actor or the person that earns the consequence and deliver that consequence individually. And even if it's more than one person, each consequence needs to be individualized.
Gotcha.
Based on what their development level is, based on what their behaviors are, what their activities were. Group punishments don't work. And a lot of times grievances praxis involves group punishments.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the weird, when the government was shut down and people's benefits were getting screwed up. This weird, now these women, they can't say no to me now. And people were making videos and joking about it. And it's like, you're a sexual predator.
Wow.
You're acting like a sexual predator because you're joking and excited that these women's kids, people might be starving, and you're looking to play that for an advantage. Okay. And a lot of people were motivated well, that's what they deserve and blah, 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 because in their minds, these people that are receiving benefits are getting something that they aren't, for not, they think they're getting something for free. More times than not, the benefits they're receiving are tied to the taxes they put into the system. And most of the people that receive these benefits are workers.
Gotcha.
So they already paid for these benefits. They're not getting something they didn't pay for. They're getting what they've paid into the government. The idea is we're so far removed from that concept of our taxes actually going to fund us as a society, that we just assume that when somebody gets benefits, they're getting something for free. No, they're not getting something for free. They're getting the money they paid into the system for. Correct. As workers that are shouldering a disproportionate amount of the tax burden.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how our tax system is set up. People on the lower end, you're in that lower middle end where you make too much not to be taxed, but not enough to afford the taxes. Those are the people that are shouldering most of the economic burden because they can't afford accountants that find loopholes.
Okay.
They can't afford, they go to H&R Block and let them H&R Block people jack their taxes up because that's what you can afford.
Right.
And it's a crapshoot to get somebody that actually knows what they're doing where they can find loopholes that are available to you. But that's the aside. People saw that as a collective punishment for this hypothetical imaginary black woman that Ronald Reagan came up with in the 80s of the welfare queen. And that's
I remember that.
And that's been their voodoo doll, if you will, of who receives benefits. Notwithstanding that one of the biggest recipients of government benefits in this country as we speak right now is also the richest man on the planet. And the reason why he's the richest man on the planet is because he had access to all these government benefits. Free money from the government.
Yeah, for sure.
Free money from the government. We live in the heartland. We live in Nebraska. Farmers, a lot of white farmers receive benefits that black farmers were excluded from historically, but they get government benefits.
Yeah, so but from another standpoint, that's considered a handout.
That's considered a handout. If but the idea that people are getting something for nothing, we paid into this system, bro. All the tax money that we done paid in, I don't mind my tax money going to make sure some of these kids have food on the table. We need to start drug testing people that are on benefits. Okay, so they've done that and realized it was a bigger expense drug testing people because the capture rate on people that were utilizing drugs and receiving benefits was so low that it didn't justify it as a cost center because they couldn't kick enough people off benefits because they couldn't find enough positive drug tests. How about we start drug testing people in Congress who run for elected office? I guarantee you will find. I guarantee you.
Boy, hey, listen.
You will find
they're not doing that,
and we can kick them off. We could kick them off their benefits because
that part.
Some of the stuff I know about some of politicians locally, and stuff I've heard nationally. If we started drug testing politicians and utilizing that as a disqualifying event, we would have a lot less politicians on the dole.
Oh, I mean, drinking and driving, spousal abuse, drinking and driving, bad credit. You can't even be a police officer with bad credit.
Yeah. Well,
and you're telling people what to do for you're in a position to tell people how they can qualify for certain loans if you have shit credit. Mm-hmm. And then not only that though, but as a police officer, they say, well, you can't have bad credit because it will entice you to take bribes. Okay, that makes sense. So how is it then if you have bad credit as a senator, as a congressman, but yet instead you are rubbing elbows with people who make other people millionaires or billionaires? How does that not induce the same exact thing?
Or as a sitting Supreme Court justice with a predilection for very expensive
gifts,
RVs, and huge houses and expensive vacations, who replace Thurgood Marshall. If you're one of those guys.
Yeah, that part.
And your credit report, like, how much does he owe? Because he's had a lot of credit discharged and paid off by third parties. So if we started putting the top 1% through the same scrutiny that we force upon everybody else, they wouldn't be in those seats either. And we don't, like, if we started drug testing, like if we started drug testing DAs or states attorneys, attorney generals.
Oh yeah, and they have to be random too.
Yeah, if we started randomly drug testing attorney generals of the state of Nebraska,
third party.
Yeah, if we started doing that, you would see that pool narrow significantly. And so, but the things that we foist upon upon poor people, we don't apply equally because we like to punish poverty. It's a grievance. We see people that have less as drains upon society. And it goes back to the grievance thing. You are poor, you deserve poverty. And it goes back to this entire concept of something I'm about to get into that's guaranteed to piss somebody off out here. I promise you it's about to piss somebody off out here. Okay. So, Fearless, have you ever heard this phrase? You have to work twice as hard to get half as far.
Yes, sir.
Who have you heard it from?
A lot of it was on TV. I didn't grow up traditionally like a lot of other Black kids did, so I didn't really hear it from.
But you just said it.
I heard it from TV mainly.
You heard it from TV, but you didn't grow up traditionally like other
Black kids.
Black kids.
I did not.
That is something that a lot of black folks my age, that is something that was absolutely, completely, and totally drilled into our heads from the
Right.
time I could understand language,
Mm,
that you have to outperform everybody to get half of what your white peers are getting. That is
right.
something that was told to black children in the United States for a long time. Um, and the reason there's very specific reasons why each generation passed that on, but that is the modus operandi. I was told that I had to outperform. I wasn't expect like I there was no expectation that I was going to have the American dream. I had to fight tooth and nail to get a portion of what we considered to be the American dream back in the days. Um, and I would have to work twice as hard to get it, because I didn't have any expectation of that. There was nothing in my family history or nothing in our circle that said that you would just be gifted these things. You had to go out there and earn it. And the deleterious side, the bad side of it is, a lot of people my age have a very difficult time understanding ease and comfort, because especially if they feel like it hasn't necessarily been earned. And so we have a hard time enjoying the finer aspects of life, because you feel like it has to be earned proportionately, even though you did earn it. The level of suffering has to be proportionate to the level of ease.
Gotcha.
And so what I'm saying is this: while I was operating off of that script all the way through elementary school, high school, college, a lot of my peers that I went to school with, they weren't operating off that script. They thought that just by performing capitalism, doing the capitalism dance, and doing the things that you are to be a good citizen, that this stuff would just be handed to you. This stuff would be just not handed to you. If I shouldn't say handed to you, but it would just be inevitable. If I'm a good citizen, then a standard of living is guaranteed to me. I didn't grow up under that. That is such a foreign concept to me.
Right. You
It is
talking about the social contract?
yes, that just being a good citizen is enough, because a lot of black folks are good citizens, and they are hardworking citizens, and they perform the capitalism ritual and stuff like that. They go out and work, earn their checks, pay their taxes and everything, and they still can't afford a house. And there's never, like, for my generation, there's never been an expectation. Like, you had to go out and earn it. It wasn't going to be gifted to you. And to hear a lot of people coming behind us who are like crashing out because this standard of living that their boomer parents or grandparents enjoyed is not available to them. And they thought it would just be because that's how America works. Don't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, because of the failed inheritance that they believe that they have, now we're seeing, well, I must be missing out on my birthright because of those people over there. Those people are stealing my birthright. The vice
Right.
president of the United States just got on X or Twitter or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and he blamed immigrants for our housing problem.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He said it was their fault
Yeah.
that there weren't houses. There are plenty of houses. There are
Yes.
plenty of houses. Immigrants aren't driving the cost of living up, and you got to
Yeah.
pick a side. Are they leeching on society, or are they doing so well that they're making the job market and housing market unsustainable? Pick a battle. But it doesn't matter to somebody who's driven by grievance. All they see is those people over there are doing better than I am.
Mm-hmm.
They must be punished. They must be doing something. They must be cheating.
Right.
And so that's where I'm going with this. I never had the illusion that I was going to get anything in life without absolutely damn near killing myself working for it.
Yeah.
By the time I was 36, I had reached the top of my career. I had achieved every career goal that I had ever had for myself. 35, 36. I was at the peak of where I wanted to be in my career. I know a lot of people that can't say that shit. And the only reason I got to where I was doing the John Henryism thing, working myself to death. Days where I'm putting in 16 hours that I didn't, and 8 of them I didn't get compensated for, just so that things can continue to run the way that it needs to run. Absolutely sacrificing time with friends and family, sacrificing relationships and all the other stuff to reach that brass ring. And then once I grab the brass ring, guess what? I'm like, I don't even like brass rings. Why am I chasing this?
Right.
So I'm saying all that to say this. In one segment of society, and we're talking black and white right now, I can't speak to other groups. I can speak to my experience as a black man in this country. One side, my generation, and the generation is baby Gen Xers, black baby Gen Xers, elder millennials. Maybe it's the kids that kind of came up before, during, and after the crack era that were black. A lot of older folks told us that you got to be twice as good to get half as far. My mom foisted off that Ben Carson book on me when I was little. Like she foisted, like, you need to read this. And I read it and I'm like, okay. He's who you need to aspire to be. Then you realize he gets older and you realize he's crazy. But what I'm saying is this. I'm saying all that to say this. We have built an entire economic and political system that is built upon grievance, built on those people over there have something that they don't deserve, that I deserve by birthright. It is mine. And for me, that's such a foreign concept because I never experienced that world. I never took anything for granted. I never thought that I was owed anything by this planet or this world. So I told you I was going to put a little bit of spin on when I say entitlement. Because I'm taking the concept entitlement that people that are more ideologically aligned with conservatives, I'm taking that and flipping that. Because I'm actually saying a lot of those people are the ones that are acting entitled. Anytime you start talking about, oh, well, I don't have a house and I'm as an American citizen, as soon as you start qualifying it with that, I realize I grew up, this world don't owe you nothing.
Right. No, I did hear that.
This world
it was just not the fact that I had to work. So I heard that as I got older or whatever. But then my work ethic by itself was just kind of on full tilt, full steam ahead, no matter what. So I've always just did that in general. And from every book that I've ever read, everybody always worked hard. And then I started to slow down on that so much.
Yeah.
I stopped working so hard and tried to start working a little smarter.
Right.
And then when I started changing my perception and my relationship with money around, and I started asking myself, or saying to myself that, okay, well, how much, not how much can you put away? Like, what do you put away now? And I think I told you that too, but I just started asking myself real simple questions. How much do you save? And I remember reading The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. And I think it wasn't the first. I think it was like the second or third principle that he talked about was to pay yourself first. And it seems like a smart concept, but we don't really do that a lot.
Yeah.
And basically what he was saying is pay yourself first before you pay your bills, before you pay this, before you pay that. And so I started taking out just a certain percentage of money. So I'll pay myself anywhere between 5 and 100% of my income, depending on if somebody paid me a couple $1,000 for this, or 3,000 for this, or 1,000 for that, I might save the whole thing and put that somewhere. Or if I can't save it this particular month, I'll save 5% of that. So it may be only $5 or $10 that I'm saving, but that's my $5 or $10. That's what I pay myself first. So if the government, and think about how the government does things. The government takes their money first and then gives you whatever's left over.
Mhm.
That's how, think about that. That's how they do that. They think about it, they didn't wake you up in the morning. They didn't go clean your car off. They didn't buy anything for you.
Right.
Nothing. But yet instead you have to give them your money first. They give you whatever's left, and then you pay bills and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Go out, go buy stuff, entertainment, this education, whatever. For what? Just so you can save whatever's left. I said no. I'm gonna start doing what the government does. I'm taking my money first. So I take a percentage of my money first. Doesn't matter what it is. Like I said, 5 to 100%. You could do 5%. So even if you make, 500 and some dollars, you can still put $5 away. But just know that that's your $5. But that's how I started. That's what I did. And then through compounding. What is compounding? Putting one thing on top of another. And you do that enough, you'll start to, that one turns into 3, that 3 turns into 6, 6 turns into 12, 12 turns into 36, and it just keeps jumping from there. And even when people need to borrow money from me, if I got it, I'll give it. But the money that I save, that money that I pay myself, you ain't getting that. That's what I paid myself for. That's for my dreams, goals, aspirations. That's for those things I want to be, do, have, and give and go in life and type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like if I want to start another company, if I want to go do this, if I want to take my kid on a trip or some shit, that's what I use that for. Right. That's not for willy and nilly and everything else, right? But once I started doing that, I started to change my relationship with money in general. And I'm gonna be honest with you, from what I've seen, what's happened for me is that opportunities come a lot more freely. They come a lot more willingly because I'm not searching for it. If it pops up, great. Let's put ourselves in a position to make this happen. But I just stopped worrying about it. I stopped thinking about it. I started thinking about, what am I happiest doing? What number one, what's gonna make some money, right, obviously. But what do I enjoy doing? Like I love to say, like I'm gonna talk to my friend Jessica again, but I got an idea because I love to read. I'm not gonna tell y'all what I'm gonna do now, but eventually I will tell you. But you won't get to just hear about it; you'll get to see it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing that really worked for me. I can't tell you it's gonna work for you, but that's what worked for me. And I think that when you understand your relationship to certain things, whether it's a job, whether it's people, whether it's money, whatever, I started to understand that those money is nothing more than pieces of paper we have agreed upon means something. That's it. It's just like if I were to take some salt, or if I were to take rice and I were to hand you a bag of rice, and we use rice or seeds or something else as currency, because we've always used something as currency. That's all it is. That's it. There's nothing more. There's nothing less, more or less to it. It's just a tool that we use to measure worth. That's it. That's all it is. But you also have to remember too, when you're being fucked with.
Right.
And our government, and I don't just want to say our government, I think governments in general have done a swell job of pitting us against each other and making it so that you can't eat, drink, or live without needing to go make some more money, right? And that's kind of what we've done is we've developed this dystopia of a reality where what I mean, think about it. You have to consistently pay car insurance. You have to consistently pay every year your tags are due. You have to pay every single month for rent, gas, water, trash. It's like this ever revolving cycle. That
Yep.
once you're done one month, here comes the next month. Here comes the next. It's like, what the fuck am I doing?
There's a
And that's why I just kind of, I just kind of, in a way, kind of checked out. And I understood this at an early age. And as y'all can see behind me, like I started to find something that if I lost everything tomorrow, I still know who the fuck I am. And I would still find happiness in books. Like, you know what I mean? Or sitting down, listen, give me a book, give me a pen and a pad, and I'm cool. Like that's what my reality is. That's what my happiness is.
So take a look at the cartoon on the screen.
Right. That's my point.
Yeah, how it feels to be.
Yeah.
You just like you have to pay a fee to exist anymore.
Exist.
And I think one of the things is because we could get into the conversation about how our political system is structured and stuff like that, and how disproportionately the people that end up in political seats of power are also the people that are in that top 1% of income earners in this country. And that means that their the way that they're going to do politics is going to be skewed by what's going to narrowly benefit their interest group.
Their interest, yeah.
And the thing that benefits their interest most is having a society where everything has to, like, the act of existing, you got to pay for it. Here's the thing, like, here's a small microcosm of an example. I have my video editing computer. This has been my workhorse for a number of years, right? It has a lot of my video stuff on there. It's a gaming laptop that I've kind of turned into a video rig. Okay. Get a notification from Microsoft. Hey, you need to upgrade to Windows 11. All right. So I try upgrading to Windows 11. Well, I don't have is it the TPC chip or whatever the chip is in the motherboard. And it's just some small thing that I don't have present because the motherboard's a little bit older than they want. It's like maybe like 6 months before they started producing the new ones. Well, now I can't upgrade to Windows 11. Okay, fine. I'll stay with Windows 10. But then they're saying, well, we're at the end of life of Windows 10. We're no longer going to provide updates to Windows 10. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, if you want the security updates, you got to buy a completely new laptop. Now, I have a new laptop. I already got one. That is not my work rig. I don't trust that one to be my work rig because it crashes too much because it's new. It's newer, and one of the graphics chips is jacked up. But that computer is good enough for Windows 11. Basically, they're taking a bunch of Windows users, all these people that they got into Windows 10, because I remember Windows 10 came out, people didn't want to download it. They kind of forced Windows 10 on everybody. And now...
Yeah, because wasn't it 8 like forever?
It was Windows 8, and people hated Windows 8. But they grudgingly upgraded to Windows 8. And then we got to Windows 10. And now, all these people that they forced into Windows 10, you have to buy a new computer. Because most people aren't like me where I just have technology just kind of laying around my house that I just find at places. I have a perfectly good laptop that I can upgrade, so I'm not going to be hurt too much. But I'm thinking about the people that they spent all their coins on this computer, and now they have to buy a whole brand new computer. Or you got to pay Microsoft some money so that you can have updates for the next year. You're forcing people that have a perfectly functional computer to pay more just for shits and gigs. It's not like the computer's outdated. It's not like it doesn't work anymore. It's not like most software will not work on that computer anymore.
Right.
It's just we are going to forcibly make you pay for a new computer. That's kind of what we're talking about here. So this is the other slide I put up there. Okay. There's a phrase that was coined, and I got to make sure I get brother's name right. It's called John Henryism. Okay. This is a phenomenon for Black folks. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I didn't get to it, but John Henryism is the idea that, and let me get the right coping strategy where individuals, particularly African Americans, respond to social and economic hardships and discrimination by exerting an immense effort and determination to succeed. Coined by Sherman James, the term acknowledges that this mindset can help overcome challenges. It is also a coping mechanism for systematic racism that can lead to significant long-term health costs like hypertension, cardiovascular disease due to chronic stress. That was my mom. That was my mom. My mom had she had enough money to retire. In fact, she had enough money where she was getting like initially what turned out to be her deathbed. But we didn't know it at the time. I'm sitting there talking to her and I said, Mom, because she's sitting there, she's like, Brian, Creighton offered me $5,000 to speak on their stage. I said, that's great. She's like, why would they pay me $5,000? I'm just talking about what I know. Well, Mom, that's what speakers are getting paid. She didn't believe that she deserved $5,000 after decades of groundwork on the front lines of breast cancer research, specifically for Black women. She is in public health. She had pictures with the president for her work. But she didn't believe that she deserved $5,000 to speak on that stage. And I said, Mom, this could be your retirement plan where you can just hang out with the grandbabies and take speaking engagements. She's like, oh, yeah, I could do that. But why would they pay me $5,000? Like, she couldn't wrap her mind around a life where she wasn't working for somebody because she didn't feel like she earned it.
Right.
Even though she did earn it. And she was working on stuff until the second that she died. She was working on stuff. My mom grew up during segregation. She proved herself. John Henry proved himself, and then he dropped dead. He's a folk hero. Right. And so that's what the concept is. So I need people to understand. We are talking to, and this is for people that want to fight with us and argue with us on this stuff. Our friend hasn't popped up here yet. For a certain generation of Black people, this is the norm. This is what our life expectation is. This is what we grew up under. You ain't going to get shit. Nobody's going to hand you anything. You got to work for every scrap, for every inch. You got to fight for every inch.
I was always told that.
You got to fight for every inch. And the moment you stop fighting is the moment they're going to take it away from you. That's what we were raised with. That is how we were indoctrinated. And a lot of us have a hard time letting go of that. But
yeah, you know what helps with that? By again, it's so funny, man. By giving it away.
Yeah.
No, dead ass. Like that. That's how you fight that. By taking a Jesus approach and just handing it away. Because here's the thing, that's how people scare you. Because people scare you because you have something to lose. What happens when you don't give a shit about somebody sanctioning you? Well, what happens if you don't care if somebody censors you? What happens if you don't care if you lose everything? Like, what happens is that you lose control over that person.
Well, that's what happened to my, like, I'll tell you a story off air, but that's what happened my last year when I was at Boys Town, when I was working there. That's what they were dealing with. I didn't give a shit. It was like, fire me.
And correct.
Fire me.
And but that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. But I'm talking about taking it a step further in life in general.
Well, okay, so then I'll explain it on air. I was sitting there. The thing that got me in trouble was I was sitting there calling them out to their face about what they were doing in North Omaha. Where I said, you guys came down here to North Omaha to collect grants, but you don't want to give anything to the community. But you want to be able to say you operate in the zip code so you can get all the grant money. And I said, these people know the game. They saw what you did with Flanagan High. These people aren't stupid down here. You're going to have to offer more to North Omaha to get them to open up doors, because they were complaining about, it seems like the community leaders don't trust us. I'm a resident of North Omaha who had friends who graduated from Flanagan, who talked to people that felt like betrayed by Boys Town because of how they handled the entire Flanagan High thing. I said, y'all legacy is down there, and y'all turned it into an alternative school that has bad outcomes, but y'all people still call Blackburn Flanagan.
Blackburn? Yeah.
They call it Flanagan.
No, Flanagan. Yeah, that's what I've always known it as, Flanagan.
And I said, y'all's legacy in North Omaha is tied to that building. And I said, and that's why people don't trust you. And that got me in trouble. Like, instantly, the temperature changed. And I was like, okay, well, fire me, kick me out. If I'm lying, if I'm telling y'all something that's not true, or I've offended y'all, your sensibilities, fire me. But your efforts down here suck. You've given more. This office has been here longer than the South Omaha office. Why are we having a grand opening celebration a year after the South Omaha office when we've been here longer? And outside of that, what are you offering to the community? Well, we're giving them music and food. We got music and food all over North Omaha. What services are we offering? How are we helping these families down here? Because there are resources that people can walk into the South Omaha office and get. They can't come to my office and get those resources because you don't make them available. And your entire thing is, well, we have to have a money strategy for it. Well, what's your money strategy in South Omaha? Because you don't have one down there.
Right.
You don't have a business. You're still forming your business model down there. Why can't you put a business model around what we're doing down here? And I was like, it's because you guys want the grant money. That comes with being in a poor neighborhood in the 68104. I grew up in 68104, 68111.
Yeah, me too.
You want that grant money that comes with that being down there, because there's grant money that's associated with it. And so that's where, so what you're talking about, what you just said, was literally my last year at Boys Town. I'm like, oh, so what are you going to do? You going to fire me?
I mean, yeah, but again, though, that's again going back to when people take words away and then they rebrand them. But what you're talking about is being woke to what's happening around you, and then calling it out for what it is,
and getting told I'm too smart for my own good.
It's like, well, you need to kind of, well, this isn't how we operate. This isn't how we see it. Of course, you don't see it that way.
Right.
You know, because I mean, for the most part, you guys are going to be the aggressor or whatever. So, hey guys, so of course you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it that way at all. So, I totally understand what you're saying.
And that, I mean, I got told I was too smart. Like, we don't need smart people. We just need people that do what we tell them to do. Well, you ain't got one of those. You ain't got one of those in me. So what are y'all gonna do?
Yeah.
But that aside, so I didn't come up under this thing that this like, for me. Okay, I said this on a previous podcast, on one of my own. I did an entire segment about it. Growing up, and one of our American dreams, like for brothers my age, if you watch the movie Boomerang, if you watch the movie Boomerang, for a segment of brothers, that was Marcus Graham was the American dream, bro. If you've ever seen the movie Boomerang, and if you're not aware, it's a romantic comedy starring Eddie Murphy, Robin Givens, Halle Berry. The concept is Marcus Graham is an ad executive in New York City. And being an ad executive in New York City, he has the glamorous life. He has the beautiful women. He has the penthouse apartment. He is in control of his own destiny. He's calling his own shots and all that other stuff. And so as a result, we sat there and watched Boomerang. I sat there and watched Boomerang like, that's where I want to be.
Really? That's funny how you ended up going into advertisement and marketing and all that stuff. Yeah, and that's funny.
Marcus Graham.
Go ahead. I mean, I'll tell you mine.
Yeah.
Go ahead though.
Materially, he was what in my 13, 14-year-old brain. Materially, he was what I thought the American dream was. You know, control of your own career, control of your own destiny, beautiful penthouse apartment, had that shit on, like always dressed to the nines, like, and was able to create for a living. And not only create for a living, but create and have lots of people see your creations and stuff like that. Like before I found out Russell Simmons was a sex offender, that's who I wanted to be when I grew up.
So why does that have anything to do with anything?
I mean, Russell Simmons is kind of like, you look at the stuff that he's on the run for while he's in Bali right now. He is and that's what people are going. If I say I wanted to be Russell Simmons when I grew up, invariably somebody's gonna say, well, isn't he like a sex offender and a pedophile? Well, yeah, I didn't know that in 1993, 94, 95.
Yeah, for sure. No,
I just knew that he was who I wanted to be. And then I saw Marcus Graham. I'm like, yo, and Boomerang, like, yo, like how do I get that life? And so that was the American dream that I saw and what I wanted. And as I got older, I put a little bit of shape and form around it and said, yeah, it's a movie or whatnot. But the thing I didn't imagine was, the thing I never had in my mind was, this is what that life was what this world owes to me. My thought was, I got to figure out how to go get that. I didn't think that just by being a great student or being a good citizen, that life was going to be afforded to me. But with some of the kids I graduated with, they didn't operate like that. And they're the ones that are most grievance filled right now. They're the ones going off on posting these screeds on social media, talking about how immigrants are messing up their opportunities and stuff. And, you know,
I mean, right, blaming somebody else for their shit though.
Right.
But if you don't mind, can I
go for it?
Go back a little bit. So your thing is, the first thing that you saw that really motivated you to do, something in marketing was Marcus from the Boomerang.
Yep.
Mine was Fraser Crane.
Okay.
Mine was Fraser.
I can see that.
Yeah. So that whole thingamabobber, you know what I'm saying? Like, I totally understand like what you're talking about with that, because you see this archetype of the type of person that you want to become, and you're like, dude, how the hell do I get there? Like, I've always seen myself like in my own office and people coming in just to sit down and talk with me. Like, I've seen that since I was a kid. Like, you know what I mean? I've never seen myself really doing anything else except that.
Right.
If that makes any sense, you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So, like, no, like, I've always just kind of been like that, man. Just been on some other type life coaching, philosophy type stuff or whatever. And when I first saw, I don't know if it was Fraser or if it was actually my therapist, because I think I would have to go see her like every Tuesday or Thursday, but I always felt good after I'd went there and seen her. But I know after watching Frasier, I was like, dude, like that seems kind of tight. I like that.
And I think that's kind of the thing where you find these things that are kind of like, because it took a while for me to get to the marketing side of things. Like I was in radio, I did broadcast radio in college and stuff, and that was kind of the path I was going to be on.
Mm.
And then the older folk in my life, because I was planning on, I was going to work in radio. Like that was it. I was going to work in radio. At the time, internet radio was a thing. We were one of the first radio stations, college radio stations that were actually on the internet. And so we had fans that were global. And I just thought, and what that turned into was podcasting. And for me, I thought that was going to be in my life. And we got a job offer to do some things in another state. And I was getting all geared up, ready to drop out of school, go chase this job offer. And then the older folks in my life staged an intervention on me and said, you can't make any money in radio. What are you doing? You better go get that degree. Dude. And then that's when I kind of said, well, yeah, maybe they're right. And that's where I started working in group homes. But that always had been something in the back of my brain because I had always had that huge background in broadcasting and stuff. And that was going to be like, that was what I was going to do. Like in my mind, I was going to utilize that to chase the dream of being that Marcus Graham or that Russell Simmons. And like I said, and people be mean and will. Like I'm not trying to blame anybody because I'm happy with what I have. Mm-hmm. But people be mean and will. But a lot of times just because, and I'll put this out here, just because somebody has a dream that you don't understand doesn't mean that that dream isn't viable. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was young enough where I could, if that was a mistake, I would have learned from that mistake. Like I was like 19. If you're going to go out and fuck up, be 19 years old and go fuck up, not have kids or a mortgage or anything.
Right.
And at the time, the only thing I regret is not chasing that and not being able to ignore them and say, you know what, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. Because I think it would have turned, a couple of things would have turned out a little bit different. But just because somebody has a dream you don't understand doesn't mean that it's not a viable dream. It just means that you can't understand their path to success. They may have an internal anchor or mooring or internal sense of direction that will make them successful. You just can't ever comprehend it. Because most of these times that you see these hyper successful people out there, they didn't even know what their path to success was going to be. They just knew the path that they were walking in the direction they were heading. So anyway, yeah, that was the dream. And here's the thing, Fearless, because I'll talk to you off air about this. You mentioned the Fraser Crane thing. I think you have the lane for the Fraser Crane thing, and I'm gonna tell you how off air. So I'm not disclosing house business, huh?
That works.
So we're not discussing house business. So anyway, the entire concept of grievance. What I'm saying is this: at the bottom line is this. Some of y'all who are so locked in with blaming some immigrants or blaming DEI, blaming affirmative action or other stuff, you're losers. That's a loser mindset. You are blaming other people for achieving because you are you have expressed mediocrity, and you're giving away your power.
Right.
Your grievance, your alignment with somebody owes you something or somebody taking something that you're entitled to, you're giving away your power. You're mad at this group of immigrants because they're doing better than what you imagine yourself to be doing. You have no idea what their struggles are. You have no idea what their situation is. They may be able to maximize more than you can. They may be able to optimize for a lifestyle with a smaller amount of money because they're used to a different standard of living than you are. They're willing to give up things that you aren't willing to give up to get what they want. And so if you're driven by grievance, that's loser stuff. That's a losing mentality.
Yeah.
And a lot of my peers, a lot of my fellow Americans are doing loser shit. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that mean, but I got to be that mean because Some of y'all have decided that you're going to hand over your power and say, my outcomes in life are because of these external immigrants out here. And you don't have a system to point to. You don't have the system that you point to, the system that you're so enamored with is the same system that is putting the screws to you.
Yeah.
The same group of people that you keep putting in office are the same people that are absolutely benefiting from your suffering. But you don't see it that way. You want to blame these people that don't necessarily have more power than you in this society. And if you want to test what your power ability is, if you want to test who really has the power in that, if you want to see how that power goes, let's make an Emmett Till situation jump off in one of these immigrant communities and see who gets arrested. Let's make one of those allegations, see who gets arrested. Who do they believe first? That's who you.
So what do you mean by that?
So if you ran over and made an accusation against somebody in that community, who are the cops going to believe first before they start investigating? Who's going to get arrested?
Okay.
You see where I'm going with that? If you have a vulnerable population, if you make an allegation against them, who are the police going to believe first? Who's the media going to side with first? If it grows legs, who are all the denizens on social media going to villainize behind that before the facts come out? That's who you could tell who has the power in the society, who never gets the benefit of the doubt, and who always gets the benefit of the doubt. But I'm urging some of y'all, and I'm not trying, like, some of y'all got to snap out of this. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always some marginalized group's fault. The reason why you don't have the life that you want. The reason why you don't have the life you want is because the people that you put in office don't value the things that you value.
No. And that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't value what you value. That's it.
They value their pocketbooks, and they don't necessarily value yours. There's a way to fix that, but you're so aligned with them telling you who to hate and who to be mad at that you won't disconnect from it. And it's my wish that at some point you do. At some point, people do disconnect from this grievance, because I never operated under the delusion that this world was going to give me a damn thing.
Right.
Fearless never operated under the delusion this world was going to give him anything.
No.
But some of y'all are still living in that. It's a sad state to be over 40 years old and still operate in that place.
You still think that and still think like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That somebody owes you, the world owes you something. This world don't owe you nothing.
Right, but I mean, but if you also think about it, there are some individuals who unalive themselves at a higher rate than everybody else because of that thinking. And they think that and the reason why Black people don't have that same those same numbers is very simple. It's because we know exactly who and what our enemy are. When you know what your enemy is, for the most part, it's just more or less outlasting him, right? For the most part, but you know what it is, you know who it is. When you don't have an idea, well, but let me rephrase that. When you know that your enemy is you, that is harder to deal with than understanding who my enemy is outside of myself.
Well, and it goes to this. And what you said is about is the premise of a book I'm about to put up here. Okay,
show it to me.
Because
it's so I can buy it.
It's the one you downloaded, or it's the one you ordered earlier. But what I'm saying is this, y'all. The idea that you have something, that you're being cheated of something that you are owed. That is your birthright. That is your inheritance. That's the premise of this book. And it talks about unaliving rates and things that are actually besieging white men in this country. Things that are actually besieging white men in this country. It talks about what happens. And they said the reason why he posits that is because they feel like they have more to lose, where marginalized communities never felt like they were going to inherit anything from this country.
Correct.
or they don't have any frame of reference to see, well, my grandparents were baby boomers and they had the house and the 2.5 kids in the car, and all my, and my grandpa was the only one that worked. Grandma stayed home, and he made enough money to sustain all that, plus do family vacations, plus build in a pool and all this other stuff. They're comparing their lives against previous eras where there was less competition in the marketplace for work and labor, where it was artificial. And this is the thing, the competition, it was artificial.
Right.
So they artificially removed competition, which means segregation. They automatically removed a lot of the workplace competition. And so they were able to reap all the benefits of a society where you don't have any competition for jobs or resources.
Right.
And
But go ahead, go on.
And a lot of people are comparing their lives in 2025 to their grandparents' lives in 1950.
Which there's no comparison.
There's no comparison, because now we have a world, an economy that is more, it's still segregated, but it's more desegregated, where there isn't de jure segregation, where it's segregation by law. Correct. Segregation is de facto, which is by just happenstance, right? And so they're operating in that level, in that world right now, and they're pining for this world in the 1950s where opportunities were abundance and job. All you had to do was just have a job, and you could go from the mail clerk at GE all the way up to the CEO, like Jack Welch did. And the reason why you can't go from mailroom to CEO like Jack Welch did is because of Jack Welch.
So basically what Brian is saying is that once he got up there, he cut the proverbial ladder off, or the rope, so you couldn't climb the same ladder. And then not only that, but I like your talking points, if you don't mind me
go for
kind of reading some of that, is that that the collapse of the old school social contract for decades, white men were told that the world was built for them, and it actually was, and that it would stay that way. Mm-hmm. That this is what God has ordained for you. Ain't nothing gonna take that away, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is with that, and I'm gonna slide away from what Brian wrote, is that what they didn't attend for was their counterparts agreed. Mm-hmm. So again, when you have Vickers, when you have Kellogg's, when you have Tyson, when you have ConAgra, when you have all these places around here, and then what happens? Hey man, if you take this overseas, or if you take this to Mexico, if you take this over there, you're gonna make probably 3 or 4 times what you're doing right here. Mm-hmm. Because here you got to pay this, you got to pay that, you got to pay that, you got to pay this, plus you got to deal with all the laws that they have over here. Whereas if you take it to Mexico, if you take it to Cuba, if you take it to Japan, if you take it to China, India, wherever, you ain't got to pay all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But you can sell the stuff here. And what happened was that those same jobs that were promised to these individuals, they're gone.
Yep.
And there goes your pension. There goes that 401. Everything that you built with that company is now gone.
Yeah.
And what do you do? See, we're used to our government kind of fucking us over. I mean, because we have decades and decades, and plus I have DNA in me that I can feel it. I know what you've done. Mm-hmm. Although I may not have read it, I know what you've done. With some of our counterparts, of our white counterparts, unfortunately, they've been told something different. They've been sold something different. And then when it comes for them to go to try to reap those benefits, oh, sorry, Brad, that job is in Mexico. Yeah. Or sorry, man, that job is in such and such. Sorry, we're gonna have to shut down the plant. Okay, well, what happens to my 401? What happens to my pension? What happens to this? What happens to that? If you guys are shutting down, and then come to find out, they didn't just shut down; they shut down here. Mm-hmm. But they're still functioning
There.
somewhere else. And so again, they didn't just sell out. Again, that's throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Right.
So that's kind of what Brian was talking about before, is that people voting against their own self-interest just to see and watch the demise of somebody else.
Well, and the thing is with Jack Welch, he's a lot of the reason why corporate culture is the way it is, because he is like a guru to the this brand of CEOs now. Elon Musk loves him, Zuckerberg loves him, Jack Dorsey was a huge fan of him. A lot of these younger CEOs idolize him. He's the reason why you have a 401k instead of a pension plan, because it's a cost-saving maneuver. 401k was never supposed to be your retirement plan. It was supposed to be a supplement to your retirement plan. But it wasn't supposed to be the totality of your retirement plan. That's a scam that they sold to corporations so that they could say, you could save more money by not having to pay these employees for the rest of their lives. Jack Welch got rid of all that stuff. He got rid of the idea that GE was what used to be considered a welfare corporation, where they were concerned about the welfare of their workers and the communities that they were in. He thought that was insidious and gross, and he absolutely gutted that. He got rid of that. He got rid of R&D. And so research and development, that's why our technology, GE used to be on the forefront of technological advances. But then he gutted that and paid it back to shareholders. He was the founder, the godfather of shareholder capitalism. But we idolize him. And a lot of senators and politicians see him as this guru.
And basically all he was doing was running a legal Ponzi scheme.
That's exactly what it was, because he invented the idea of the stock buyback, where you can use a stock buyback to inflate the value of your company, but while not really adding any value.
You're not adding any value, but then you're still charging more.
Yeah.
Just like the back of chips and the drinks. The drinks and the chips are coming down more, coming down more, coming down more, coming down more, while the price of those things are steady rising.
And you're getting less.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is going down, but then this over here is going up. So the price is going up, but the product is going down.
Right.
And not just the product, but the what word am I looking? The quality.
The quality and the time it takes to produce that product. The time that it takes to produce the product is getting slashed, because for them, the faster we can move, the more money we can possibly make per instance. And so if they can reduce the amount of quality in terms of making sure that this thing is all right and won't kill you, or even looks all right, where there's a level of expertise and craftsmanship in the thing that you're receiving. Well, if we reduce the amount of time they have at each instance of creating said thing or cooking said thing or packaging said thing, we don't check to make sure that there's not a dead rat in there, or you know what I'm saying, or this thing is even functioning beforehand. And so, but that's the environment that he created. And so this is the inheritance that you guys, the guy that a lot of your favorite CEOs idolize, is the reason why things are the way that they are, where you can't have a job that's your entire life. It used to be you can get a job at a company and you would retire there. That is an afterthought now. Used to be you would get a full pension. That's an afterthought now. Now they hand you a 401k and tie you to the stock market, as opposed to guaranteeing your money. And so there's a lot of other things that go into this concept, where a lot of folks my age, a lot of white folks my age, feel like they have a failed inheritance, because they're looking at their grandparents and their parents, and they're like, I'm never going to be able to have that. I may not even ever have a house. Whereas I grew up never expecting to have a house. I knew that if I had a house, I didn't know I was going to have a house until maybe like 7 months before we bought our first house. Because I never imagined that life for myself. I knew that we'd have to absolutely kill ourselves and work so damn hard to get it. And that's what we did.
Right.
But we never had that expectation that was going to be something that was granted to me, because I didn't have a framework to look at and say, well, my mom just happened to do, like, my mom had to work 2-3 jobs to actually afford our house. So that was the blueprint I was operating off of. I didn't have a framework of one parent works, the other one stays home. My mom was I was a latchkey kid. I spent so much time by myself, but from the time I was in 4th grade on up, because
Yeah, me too.
my mom was making that money. So I never had any expectation
I'll be
that,
right back.
yep, there was going to be this grand inheritance. And so that's what I'm saying. That's really all I'm saying, y'all, is it's just a matter of shifting your perspective about what this American experiment is right now. And for a lot of my white peers that I graduated with, they are stuck in the grievance mode where they are driven they are driven by this concept that they're cheated out of a thing. They're being cheated out of a lifestyle or um, a promise of some American thing. And that's their guide, that's their North Star. And the only way they're going to get the thing that they want is by persecuting the people they believe are receiving something for nothing. But you never know somebody's exact situation. You don't know what somebody's situation is. So when you're saying that this immigrant community is getting all these benefits, you don't know. You have no concept of what they're getting. You don't know what standard of living they're used to. They may be used to living on less, and so they're able to spend more in discretionary income. They're used to living on less so that they can spend more. A lot of immigrant communities have internal money loaning systems that a lot of white folks aren't aware of. There's
Say it one more time.
a lot of immigrant communities have internal systems of loaning money to one another to
Yes.
finance businesses that white folks aren't aware of. Where you pool the money together, the new person comes in, they gain access to the money, to the startup capital to start their business, and then they have to pay the money back. So the next person could come in and benefit. That's how it's set up. A lot of Chinese immigrants. That's why you see a lot of Chinese folks in Chinese restaurants, because that was the modus operandi. But African nations do it too. People from the Caribbean do it too. And each community has a different name for it. So when you're comparing yourself to this immigrant community, understand that they have a collective loan system that you ain't aware of. And they're paying that money back. So it looks like, oh yeah, they're doing great. They're able to come over here and do great because they built a structure to do great. And they still are busting their ass.
Okay.
And so these are the things that we're talking about, y'all. You're not aware of what somebody else's situation is.
Mm-hmm.
You're not aware of the situation. But like I said, when I see somebody talking like that about this immigrant community is doing well and how are they able to do, because they've built a workaround for a society that will not give them loans. They've built their own system to do it. Like I said, y'all, a lot of y'all ain't hip to it because a lot of y'all don't pay attention to things outside of your own community. You don't talk to people outside of your own community. You don't have those level of engagements. I know because somebody told me. I know because I talk to people outside of my own community. I know because I used to work with immigrant families. I know because I read history books. I know because of this stuff. Some of y'all aren't aware of that. So when you're saying all these Haitian immigrants like that, and I got to find the video. I'm not going to find it today. But the video of the white dude complaining because some Haitian immigrants moved into his neighborhood, that he said, I worked my entire life to integrate into this neighborhood. And now they're able to afford a Lexus SUV. Why can't I afford a Lexus SUV? I've worked my entire life as a good, standard, strong American citizen. You don't know what system they set up for to create success for themselves. That's all I'm saying. And that's why this grievance stuff is the grievance politics, the grievances praxis is loser stuff. Needs an enemy that can't fight back. Targets invisible groups, targets the powerless. It doesn't go after the people that are actually setting the stage for everybody to fight for the scraps. Okay. And so the book I showed on, there was a book I'm showing, and I'm actually going through it right now, is Angry White Men by Michael Kimmel. It talks about masculinity in America amongst white males and why suicide rates are so high and disproportionate because of what the who's actually getting screwed over. And so it talks about the grievance politics and all kinds of other stuff. Okay. But I'm just here to give you the wake up call from trial and error, from my experience. If you are living a grievance based life where you are aggrieved always, and you always think people are screwing you over, um, and you think that somebody is always getting something that you aren't unfairly, you're setting yourself up to constantly live in that space and to constantly struggle. So from trial and error, you need to snap out of it. From a learning standpoint, that's your growth. That's one to grow on. Remember the old NBC thing, one to grow on? That's one to grow on.
It's one to grow on. Yeah, I'm with it. I can hear everybody. I was just, yeah, life's still
handling business.
Man, I'm telling you.
So Fearless, there's a whole lot more in this outline that we're not going to get to, but I think this might be one of those recurring topics that we revisit at some point in time.
Okay, yeah, we surely can.
Because I think a lot of people need to hear it. And I think for us, the self-help kind of thing is a good lane for us to occupy as well, where we're here to give you the wake-up call. If you want better outcomes, then take radical accountability for your outcomes. Because a lot of the people that you're complaining about have already taken that radical accountability, and that's why they're outperforming you.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Is that too harsh? Is that too strident?
No.
Okay, I don't want to be too mean.
Nope, not at all.
I don't want to be too mean. Fearless, do you have anything in conclusion?
No.
All right.
I'll pick up a book, read a little bit more.
Yeah.
I would say that always. I will always say that.
So the books that we have recommending Angry White Men by Michael Kimmel, and what was the one that you had me pull up earlier?
The other one is Separation of Church and Hate.
Those are 2 book recommendations for the week, y'all. Go cop those.
But you know what though? Here's another one from Kristen Hanna, and it was called The Great Alone. The Great Alone.
Okay.
And here, let me. I'll try to find it so we can put it up. But it was. I read it just not too long. Actually, like right before I finished this one. And man, that book was so good. And it's so crazy, man, is I've had this book for years. Like, you guys see this? You guys see? Oh yeah, you guys, yeah, y'all can't even see me. Hold on, sorry. Okay, here we go. This is the one right here. Kristen Hanna. I'm telling you, it is an amazing book. Get it. The rating was like 4.7 out of 5. Like, and it's difficult to get that on the Goodreads. So I'm just telling you guys off top, man. It is truly, truly, truly amazing.
Yeah. Great Alone. I'm gonna check it out.
Like, yeah, it's a nice one, man. It's a 438 pager, but I'm telling you, it's a really good perspective. It's a good book. Yeah, man. I found her to be a pretty good author in general. Her and Frida McFadden are like 2 of my favorite authors. My favorite would have to be what's my guy's name? Neil Schusterman. He's YA, which is young adult. But like, yeah, these are really good books. So if you get a chance to read it, go ahead, read it.
All right, cool. So those are the 3 books. Guys, if you guys got any questions, hit us up. I'm gonna be doing my live stream tonight, Blurting While Dad. I think, if wrestling practice doesn't go crazy like it did last week, or the week before. So I have my little Ask a Dad thing where people can ask questions about just grown up stuff, being an adult, stuff like that.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And so that's a lane I have. Fearless has Ask Fearless. So if you guys are interested in engaging with us, drop a question or comment. Drop a question in our comments wherever you're seeing this, and we'll try to answer it on the air.
Sure.
If you need advice or something, we'll try our best. But if it's too crazy, we're going to be saying, hey, you need to go see a professional for this. So That's just how it goes. All right, y'all. We'll talk to you later. I'm Brian.
Fearless.
Talk to y'all later.
Deuces.